Admiral Vextar stood in the command center of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion. The massive ship stretched for 12 kilometers and housed 50,000 crew members. Around him, holographic displays showed the positions of 3 entire battle fleets. Each fleet had enough firepower to destroy a planet. The Admiral's 6 eyes focused on the central display. A single red dot moved slowly through the outer edges of their space. The unknown ship had appeared 3 days ago at the border of the Zephyrian Empire. Intelligence reports said it belonged to humans, a primitive species from a distant star system. "Sir, the alien vessel continues to ignore our communications," reported Commander Zilk, his second in command. The commander's tentacles twitched nervously as he spoke. "They have not responded to any of our warnings." Vextar made a sound that his species used for laughter. "Of course they do not respond. Look at their ship design. It is crude and ugly. These humans probably do not even understand our language." The Admiral moved to a larger display that showed detailed scans of the human vessel. The ship looked nothing like the elegant bioorganic designs of the galactic civilizations. It had sharp angles and rough metal surfaces. Weapon ports stuck out from its hull like scars. To Vextar's trained eye, it looked like something built by a species that had only recently discovered space travel. "Their technology readings are impossible to understand," said Science Officer Thrawn. Her blue skin flickered with patterns of confusion. "The energy signatures do not match anything in our databases, but the hull materials appear to be simple metal alloys. Simple metals against our plasma shields and quantum weapons," Vextar said. "This will not be a battle. This will be a demonstration." The Admiral had good reason to be confident. The Zephyrian Empire had ruled this sector of the galaxy for 3,000 years. Their fleets had conquered countless worlds. Their technology came from dozens of different alien civilizations, all working together under Zephyrian control. No single ship had ever challenged their authority and survived. "Sir, should we attempt another diplomatic contact?" asked Commander Zilk. "No. These humans have had their chance to surrender. They chose to continue toward our core systems instead." Vextar's claws clicked against the command console. "We will show them what happens when primitive species challenge the established order." The 3 battle fleets had taken position around the human ship. Fleet Alpha contained 200 heavy cruisers and 50 dreadnoughts. Fleet Beta brought 300 destroyers and assault carriers. Fleet Gamma provided support ships and the massive planet-killer weapons that the Empire used for final solutions. "All fleets report ready status," announced the communications officer. "We have the human vessel completely surrounded. They cannot escape." Vextar studied the tactical display one more time. The human ship moved in a straight line toward the galactic core. It showed no sign of fear or concern about the massive fleets around it. Either these humans were incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. "Sir, we are receiving new data from the border monitoring stations," said Science Officer Thran. "The humans come from a system called Sol. Their planet is called Earth. Our long-range scouts report that they have only recently developed faster-than-light travel." "Recently? How recently?" Vextar asked. "Less than 50 years, sir. Their civilization appears to have gone through extensive wars before achieving spaceflight. The scouts found evidence of massive destruction on their home planet." Commander Zilk looked up from his station. "Wars on their own planet? That explains their crude ship design. They probably do not understand proper military tactics." Vextar nodded. "Many primitive species destroyed themselves before reaching the stars. The few that survived usually did so by accident rather than skill. These humans had probably built their ship with whatever materials they could find after their wars ended." "Sir, the human vessel has just changed course," reported the navigation officer. "They are now heading directly for our flagship." "Excellent. They want to face us directly. Very well. We will give them that honor." Vextar moved to the center of the command deck. "All fleets prepare for combat. Target the human ship with everything we have. When I give the signal, fire all weapons simultaneously." The bridge crew worked quickly to relay orders. Throughout the 3 fleets, thousands of ships powered up their weapons. Plasma cannons charged to full power. Quantum torpedoes loaded into firing tubes. Energy shields strengthened to maximum levels, sir. "All ships report weapons ready," said Commander Zilk. "Sir, we are detecting unusual energy readings from the human ship," added Science Officer Thrawn. "Their power levels are increasing, but not in any pattern we recognize." Vextar dismissed the concern with a wave of his claw. "Probably desperation. They know they are about to die, so they are trying everything they can think of. The Admiral had seen this many times before. When primitive species faced the full might of the Empire, they often tried desperate tactics. Some would overload their engines trying to escape. Others would fire all their weapons at once, hoping for a lucky hit. None of these attempts ever worked against superior galactic technology. "Distance to target?" Vextar asked. 50,000 kilometers in closing, sir. The human ship maintains steady speed. Perfect range for our weapons. All fleets lock onto target. The Admiral raised his primary claw. Around him, the bridge crew waited for his signal. Throughout the 3 fleets, weapons officers prepared to fire. "Sir, I am detecting something strange," said Science Officer Thrawn urgently. "The space around the human ship is showing unusual readings. It is as if reality itself is being distorted." "Impossible. No single ship has that kind of power." But Vextar looked at the display anyway. The readings did look unusual, but his science officer often worried about minor anomalies. "Sir, request permission to delay the attack until we understand these readings," Thrawn said. "Denied. We have 3 full battle fleets against 1 primitive ship. Whatever tricks they are trying will not save them." Vextar raised his claw higher. "All fleets prepare to fire on my mark." The human ship continued its approach. It made no attempt to dodge or take defensive action. To the Admiral, this proved that the humans did not understand the danger they faced. They probably thought their simple metal hull could protect them against galactic weapons. "Sir, the distortions around their ship are getting stronger," warned Science Officer Thrawn. Noted and ignored. "All fleets fire!" Vextar brought his claw down sharply. Across 3 battle fleets, thousands of weapons fired at the same instant. The combined energy release was enough to destroy a small moon. Plasma beams, quantum torpedoes, and particle cannons all converged on the single human ship. For a moment, the Admiral felt satisfaction. No ship in the galaxy could survive that much firepower. The humans had learned the price of challenging the Empire. Then the science officer screamed, "Sir, the human ship just disappeared." Vextar spun toward the display. Where the human vessel had been, empty space remained. Every single weapon shot had missed its target completely. Impossible. Where did they go? "Unknown, sir. All sensors show empty space at the target coordinates." Before anyone could respond, new alarms began sounding throughout the bridge. "Warning lights flashed red as emergency systems activated, sir." Multiple contacts appearing throughout the fleet, shouted the navigation officer. "Ships are materializing everywhere." Admiral Vextar stared at the tactical display in growing horror. The single red dot representing the human ship had become dozens of red dots. They appeared inside his formations between his ships, and in positions that should have been impossible to reach. The 4-minute war was about to begin. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Retribution, watching the alien fleets arrange themselves around her ship. She had seen many battles in her 45 years, but never anything like this. 3,000 enemy ships surrounded her single vessel, their weapons pointing at her like hungry predators. "Captain, they are trying to communicate again," said Lieutenant Torres from the communication station. "Same message as before. Surrender or be destroyed." "Any response from our diplomats?" Chen asked, though she already knew the answer. "Negative, Captain. They refuse to acknowledge our diplomatic immunity codes. They also ignore our requests for peaceful contact." Torres shook his head. "It seems like they only understand one language." Chen nodded. She had hoped these aliens would be different from the reports Earth had received. For months, refugee ships had arrived at human colonies with stories of the Zephyrian Empire, an alien civilization that ruled through fear and conquest. They had destroyed 17 species completely and enslaved dozens more. "Distance to the flagship?" Chen asked. 40,000 kilometers in closing, Captain," replied Navigator Park. "Their formation is textbook perfect. No gaps, no weak points. They have us completely surrounded." "Of course they do. They have done this many times before." Chen moved to the central command station. Around her, the bridge crew worked at their posts with calm efficiency. Each person had volunteered for this mission, knowing they might never return home. The Retribution was not like other Earth ships. While most human vessels focused on exploration or trade, this ship had been built for a special purpose. It carried technology that Earth had developed during the resource wars, refined through decades of desperate innovation. Technology that the rest of the galaxy did not know existed. "Captain, I am reading massive energy buildup throughout their fleets. reported Chief Engineer Walsh from his station. They are charging weapons. All weapons. How long until they fire? Chen asked. Based on their energy curves, approximately 90 seconds. Chen activated the ship-wide communication system. All hands, this is the captain. We are about to begin our mission. Remember what we learned in training. Stay calm, follow procedures, and trust your equipment. Humanity is counting on us. She switched off the communication and turned to her crew. Engine status? Dimensional drive is ready, Captain, Walsh replied. All systems are running perfectly. We can phase out of normal space on your command. Weapons? Quantum disruptors are charged and ready, said Weapons Officer Kim. Reality anchors are deployed. We have full target locks on their command ships. Defense systems. Probability shields at maximum, reported Defense Specialist Rodriguez. We are currently existing in 17 different dimensional states simultaneously. Their weapons cannot hit what they cannot properly target. Chen smiled grimly. These terms would mean nothing to the aliens surrounding them. Humans had developed these technologies through necessity. When your planet was dying and resources were limited, you learned to think in ways that others could not imagine. Captain, incoming transmission, said Torres. It is from their flagship. Admiral Vextar wants to speak with you directly. Put it on screen. The forward display showed an alien with 6 eyes and sharp claws. His skin had a metallic shine and his uniform displayed dozens of military honors. When he spoke, his voice carried the arrogance of someone who had never lost a battle. Human Captain, I am Admiral Vextar of the Zephyrian Empire. You have entered our space without permission. You have ignored our warnings and our demands for surrender. This is your final chance to save your crew. Chen stepped forward so the alien could see her clearly. Admiral, I am Captain Sarah Chen of the Earthship Retribution. We come under diplomatic immunity as representatives of humanity. We request safe passage to the Galactic Core for peace negotiations. The Admiral made a sound that might have been laughter. Peace negotiations? Your primitive species has nothing to offer the Empire. You will surrender your ship immediately, or we will take it by force. Admiral, I strongly advise you to reconsider. My ship carries diplomatic status under galactic law. Attacking us would be considered an act of war against humanity. War? The alien's 6 eyes focused on her with amusement. You have 1 ship. We have 3 fleets. There will be no war because there will be no humans left to fight one. Chen kept her expression neutral, though her crew could see the steel in her eyes. Admiral, you have 60 seconds to stand down your weapons and prepare for proper diplomatic contact. This is your only warning. The Admiral's laughter echoed through the communication channel. Warning? You dare threaten the Zephyrian Empire? You will learn the price of such arrogance. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in silence. Chen looked at her crew, seeing determination in every face. These men and women had trained for this moment their entire careers. Captain, their weapons are reaching full charge, reported Walsh. Estimated time to firing, 30 seconds. All stations. Prepare for combat operations, Chen commanded. Activate the dimensional shift on my mark. Dimensional drive ready? Captain. Weapons systems armed. Defense fields at maximum. Navigator. Plot phase coordinates for tactical positioning. Coordinates plotted and ready. Captain. Chen watched the tactical display as thousands of alien weapons pointed at her ship. She thought about Earth, 300 light-years away. Her planet had suffered through the resource wars, environmental collapse, and decades of rebuilding. Humanity had learned hard lessons about survival. Captain, 10 seconds to their firing sequence, Walsh announced. Chen raised her hand, watching the countdown on her display. The aliens thought they faced a primitive species with crude technology. They would learn the truth about humanity in the next few minutes. 5 seconds. 4. 3. 2. Chen brought her hand down sharply. Execute. The Retribution vanished from normal space just as 3,000 alien weapons fired at its position. For a brief moment, the concentrated firepower lit up empty space like a small star. Then reality tore open in dozens of places throughout the alien formation. The human ship emerged from the dimensional fold, but it was no longer alone. Ships identical to the Retribution materialized throughout the alien fleets. Some appeared between enemy vessels. Others manifested inside their defensive formations. A few took position directly above and below the largest alien ships. All vessels, this is Retribution Actual. Chen broadcast on the fleet frequency. Begin tactical demonstration. Remember, we want survivors to carry our message back to their empire. The aliens had expected to face one primitive human ship. Instead, they found themselves surrounded by a fleet that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Ships that could appear and disappear at will, weapons that could strike targets through solid matter, technology that made their advanced alien science look like stone tools. Admiral Vextar's confident voice came over the communication channel, but now it carried notes of confusion and fear. "What is this? How did you multiply your ships?" Captain Chen's reply was calm and professional. "Admiral, you are witnessing human military technology. We tried to resolve this peacefully. You chose another path. The 4-minute war had begun." At exactly 1437 Galactic Standard Time, Admiral Vextar gave the order that would change the galaxy forever. "All fleets fire!" 3,000 ships opened fire simultaneously. The combined energy release could have cracked a moon or boiled an ocean. Plasma beams, quantum torpedoes, and particle cannons converged on the space where the human ship had been just moments before. The weapons hit nothing but empty space. "Target has vanished from all sensors," shouted Science Officer Thrawn. Her blue skin flickered rapidly with patterns of panic. No debris, no energy signature, nothing. Admiral Vextar stared at the tactical display in disbelief. No ship could simply disappear like that. His weapons officers had perfect target locks. The firing solution had been flawless. Yet somehow the human vessel had evaded the entire attack. "Sir," multiple contacts materializing throughout the fleet. Navigation Officer Keld's voice cracked as he spoke. "Ships are appearing everywhere." The tactical display exploded with new red contacts. Where there had been one human ship, now dozens appeared throughout the alien formation. They materialized between Zephyrian vessels, above them, below them, and in some cases, impossibly close to their hulls. "Impossible," Vextar snarled. "Ships cannot appear from nothing." But the evidence was right in front of him. Each new contact showed the same profile as the original human vessel. The same crude metal hull, the same primitive design, yet somehow they had multiplied and spread throughout his entire fleet in seconds. Commander Zilk rushed to the Admiral's side. "Sir, how did they do this? Our sensors show no warp signatures, no dimensional rifts, nothing that would explain their appearance." Before Vextar could answer, the first human ship opened fire. The weapon beam looked nothing like galactic technology. Instead of clean plasma bolts or quantum bursts, it appeared as a ripple in space itself. The energy wave struck the dreadnought Cosmic Fury directly through its shields, as if the barriers did not exist. The massive ship simply came apart, not destroyed by explosion or reduced to debris by overwhelming firepower. The Cosmic Fury separated into its component pieces like a puzzle being gently disassembled. Hull plates drifted away from each other. Engine sections detached cleanly from the main body. The crew remained alive inside intact compartments, but their ship no longer functioned as a single unit. "What kind of weapon was that?" whispered Science Officer Thrawn. More human ships began firing. Each beam had the same effect. Alien vessels came apart without violence, their crews surviving, but their ships rendered completely helpless. The humans were not trying to kill anyone. They were demonstrating something far more terrifying than raw destructive power. "All ships, return fire," Vextar commanded. "Target the human vessels. Destroy them all." The Zephyrian fleet responded immediately. Thousands of weapons turned toward the human ships scattered throughout their formation. Energy beams and projectiles filled the space between vessels as the aliens tried to strike back. The human ships did not dodge. They did not raise shields or take defensive action. The alien weapons simply passed through them as if they were not there. "Sir, our weapons are having no effect," reported Weapons Officer Grix. "Direct hits are not registering any damage." "Increase power. Overload the plasma cannons if necessary." "Sir, we are firing at maximum intensity." The human ships appear to be existing in a different dimensional state. "Our weapons cannot affect them." Admiral Vextar felt the first touch of real fear. In 3,000 years of galactic conquest, the Zephyrian Empire had never encountered anything like this. Their enemies had always been bound by the same physical laws, limited by the same technological constraints. These humans seemed to operate outside the rules of reality itself. Another ripple weapon struck the heavy cruiser Stellar Pride. Like the dreadnought before it, the ship came apart in perfect sections. The crew found themselves floating in sealed compartments. Completely unharmed but utterly helpless. "Sir, "We are receiving a transmission from the human fleet," reported Communications Officer Yilt. "Put it through." Captain Chen's voice filled the bridge with calm authority. "Admiral Vextar, this is your final warning. Order your ships to power down their weapons and prepare for surrender. You have 30 seconds to comply." "Surrender?" Vextar's voice rose to a roar. "The Zephyrian Empire does not surrender to primitive aliens. All ships continue firing. Find a way to hit them." The transmission ended. Around the battlefield, human ships continued their methodical work. Each beam weapon found a new target, and each target came apart with surgical precision. The humans were taking apart the most powerful fleet in the galaxy, like mechanics disassembling broken machinery. "Sir, we have lost contact with Fleet Beta," reported Commander Zilk. "All their command ships have been disabled. Fleet Gamma is also reporting massive casualties," added Navigation Officer Keld. 60% of their vessels are non-functional." Admiral Vextar watched his life's work crumble around him. 3 fleets that had conquered star systems were being reduced to floating debris by ships that his science officers insisted could not exist. "Sir, the human vessel nearest to us is approaching our position," warned Thrawn. "Distance 5,000 meters and closing." On the main display, one of the human ships moved toward the Eternal Dominion. It made no threatening gestures, showed no signs of preparing to attack. It simply approached like a predator, confident in its superiority. "All weapons target that ship," Vextar commanded. "Point-blank range. It cannot avoid us at this distance." Every weapon on the flagship fired at once. The human ship was close enough to see with the naked eye through the bridge windows. There was no way to miss at such short range. The energy beams passed through the human vessel without effect. Plasma bolts struck empty space. Quantum torpedoes detonated harmlessly against nothing. The human ship continued its approach until it was less than a kilometer away. Then something impossible happened. The 2 ships began to merge. The human vessel did not dock or attach itself to the Eternal Dominion. Instead, it began to pass through the alien flagship's hull like a ghost walking through a wall. Where the ships overlapped, strange energies danced across the surface of both vessels. "What is happening?" Vextar demanded. "Report." "Unknown, sir." Thran's voice was nearly hysterical. "The human ship is occupying the same space as our hull. This is impossible according to all known physics." Warning alarms sounded throughout the bridge as systems began failing. Not from damage or overload, but as if they were being quietly shut down by an unseen hand. Weapon systems went offline. Navigation failed. Even the artificial gravity started fluctuating. "Sir, we are detecting human life signs throughout the ship," reported Security Chief Drac. "They are everywhere, but our sensors cannot pinpoint their exact locations. Send security teams to intercept them." "Sir, the security teams cannot move. All internal transportation systems have shut down. The humans seem to control our ship better than we do." Through the chaos of failing systems and panicked reports, Admiral Vextar heard something that chilled him to his core. Footsteps. Human footsteps. Walking across his bridge from a direction where no entrance existed. He turned to see a human female in a simple uniform walking toward him. She had appeared from nowhere, passing through solid bulkheads as if they were made of air. Behind her came 2 more humans, their faces calm and professional. Captain Sarah Chen stopped 3 meters from the Admiral and spoke in perfect Zephyrian. "Admiral Vextar, I am Captain Chen of the Earth vessel Retribution. Your fleet has been neutralized. Your crews are unharmed, but your ships are no longer functional. I suggest we discuss terms for ending this engagement." Admiral Vextar stared at the human woman who had somehow walked through the walls of his flagship. Around him, his bridge crew watched in stunned silence as their most advanced technology proved useless against these impossible aliens. For the first time in his long career, the Admiral realized he had made a terrible mistake. Admiral Vextar stared at the human woman who had appeared on his bridge like a ghost walking through walls. Around them, the Eternal Dominion systems continued to fail one by one, not from damage but as if the ship itself was being gently taken apart from the inside. "This is impossible," he whispered. "No species has technology like this." Captain Chen studied the Admiral with calm, professional interest. "You are correct, Admiral. No species in your database has technology like this. Humanity developed these capabilities through necessity." "Necessity?" Science Officer Thrawn spoke up from her station. her blue skin flickering with patterns of confusion and fear. What necessity could drive such advanced development? Survival, Chen replied simply. Your empire has spent 3,000 years conquering weaker civilizations. You have had the luxury of using overwhelming force against enemies who could not fight back effectively. Humanity learned to fight differently. Through the bridge windows, Vextar could see the remains of his once mighty fleet. Thousands of ships floated helplessly in space, their crews alive but their vessels completely disabled. The human ships moved between them like sharks among minnows, ensuring that no alien vessel could power up its weapons or engines. How? The Admiral asked. How did your species develop such power in only 50 years of space travel? Captain Chen walked to the main tactical display, her footsteps echoing strangely in the silent bridge. Admiral, may I show you something? A brief history lesson about humanity? Without waiting for permission, she touched the display console. The holographic projector activated, but instead of showing star charts or tactical data, it began displaying images of Earth. The first image showed a blue-green world covered with cities and forests. Beautiful oceans reflected sunlight and white clouds drifted across the continents. It looked like a paradise world. This was Earth 300 years ago, Chen explained. A planet with abundant resources and a growing population. Humanity had spread across the entire world, building great civilizations. The image changed. Now Earth looked different. Brown scars covered the continents where forests had been. The oceans had changed color. The cities were larger but surrounded by vast areas of empty wasteland. 200 years ago, our resources began running out. We had used too much too quickly. Nations fought wars over water, food, and energy. We poisoned our own atmosphere trying to maintain our way of life. The next image was even worse. Earth now appeared mostly brown and gray. Huge storms covered half the planet. The cities were smaller and protected by massive walls. Large areas of land showed no signs of life at all. 100 years ago, Earth was dying. The resource wars had destroyed most of our civilization. Billions of people died from starvation, disease, and violence. Those who survived lived in underground cities or domed settlements. Admiral Vextar and his crew watched in horrified fascination. They had seen dead worlds before, planets stripped of resources or destroyed by war, but they had never seen the complete history of such destruction. How did you survive? Asked Commander Zilk. We learned to think differently, Chen replied. When you have limited resources and powerful enemies, you cannot win through brute force. You must become something your enemies cannot understand or predict. The display changed again. This time it showed humans working in underground laboratories. Their faces thin from hunger but their eyes burning with determination. We developed dimensional science out of desperation. When your planet has no more metals to mine, you learn to reach into other dimensions to find materials. When your enemies have bigger armies, you learn to exist in multiple realities simultaneously. Multiple realities? Science Officer Thrawn leaned forward eagerly despite her fear. You mean your ships actually exist in several dimensions at once? Among other things. The Retribution and its sister ships can phase between 17 different dimensional states. In some dimensions, we are solid matter that can fire weapons and affect the physical world. In others, we are pure energy that can pass through solid objects. We choose which state to exist in based on tactical requirements. Admiral Vextar felt a chill run through his body. Your weapons. They ignore our shields and armor. Our quantum disruptors operate on a dimensional frequency that bypasses normal matter. They do not destroy your ships through force. Instead, they temporarily shift the molecular bonds holding your vessels together into a different dimensional state. Your ships come apart, but the materials remain undamaged. And your defense systems? Probability shields. We exist in multiple quantum states simultaneously. When your weapons fire at us, they hit versions of our ships that exist in dimensions where we chose not to be solid at that moment. Your targeting computers cannot lock onto something that exists in 17 different realities. The implications hit Vextar like a physical blow. The Zephyrian Empire had built its power on technological superiority. Their ships, weapons, and defenses were more advanced than anything their enemies possessed. But these humans had developed science that operated outside the rules of normal reality. Why are you telling us this? He asked. Captain Chen turned away from the display to face him directly. Because, Admiral, humanity did not come here to conquer anyone. We came to deliver a message. What message? That the age of Galactic Empire is ending. Your species has ruled through intimidation and overwhelming force for 3 millennia. You have destroyed civilizations and enslaved entire worlds, but you made one critical error. What error? You assumed that all species would develop technology the same way you did. You expected bigger ships, more powerful weapons, stronger shields. You never considered that someone might approach the problem from a completely different direction. Around the bridge, alarm systems continued to sound as more ship functions went offline. The humans were systematically shutting down every system on the Eternal Dominion without causing any permanent damage. "Sir, we are detecting similar effects throughout the entire fleet," reported Commander Zilk. "All ships are losing power and control systems. The humans are disabling our entire force." Captain Chen nodded. "Your crews will not be harmed, Admiral. But your ships will remain non-functional until this conversation is complete. I want to ensure you understand the situation before we proceed." "What do you want from us?" Vextar asked. "Nothing. We want nothing from the Zephyrian Empire except for you to stop expanding into human space and to release the species you have enslaved. And if we refuse?" Chen's expression remained calm, but something cold flickered in her eyes. "Admiral, in the last 4 minutes, a single human ship and its dimensional copies have completely neutralized 3 of your battle fleets. We accomplished this without killing a single member of your crews and without permanently damaging your vessels." She paused to let that sink in. "Now imagine what we could do if we decided to be less gentle." "Admiral," Vextar looked around his bridge at his helpless crew and his disabled ship. He thought about the 3,000 vessels floating powerlessly in space around them. He considered the implications of an enemy that could appear anywhere, anytime, and disable entire fleets without warning. For the first time in his long military career, he realized that the Zephyrian Empire was not the most powerful force in the galaxy. At exactly 1441 Galactic Standard Time, 4 minutes after the first shot was fired, an eerie silence fell across the battlefield. 3,000 ships of the Zephyrian Empire's most powerful fleets hung motionless in space. Their crews were alive and unharmed, but every vessel was completely disabled. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, watching Admiral Vextar process the reality of his situation. The proud alien commander who had ruled this sector for decades now faced the complete destruction of everything he thought he knew about galactic power. "Admiral," Chen said quietly, "your fleets have been neutralized. Your crews are safe, but your ships will remain disabled until you agree to certain terms." Vextar looked around his bridge at the helpless crew members. His science officer Thrawn continued working frantically at her station, trying to understand how human technology had so easily overwhelmed their defenses. Commander Zilk stood frozen beside the tactical display, staring at the red dots that represented disabled Zephyrian vessels. "What terms?" the Admiral asked finally. "First, your empire will immediately halt all expansion into the outer spiral arms of the galaxy. Those regions are now under human protection. Second, you will release all enslaved species and allow them to govern themselves. Third, you will provide reparations to the civilizations your empire has destroyed." "Impossible. The Galactic Council will never agree to such demands." Chen smiled sadly. "Admiral, I do not think you understand the situation. Let me show you something." She activated her wrist communicator. "Retribution, this is Captain Chen. Please display our current fleet status." The main tactical display changed to show a galactic map. Hundreds of red dots appeared throughout Zephyrian space, marking the positions of human ships. "Admiral, what you see here represents the current deployment of the human fleet. We have vessels positioned near every major Zephyrian military installation, government center, and industrial facility in this sector." Vextar stared at the display in growing horror. "How many ships do you have?" "Enough. The retribution that you encountered today is just one vessel in a much larger force. While you were focused on our single ship, the rest of our fleet was taking position throughout your empire." Science Officer Thrawn looked up from her station with panic in her voice. "Sir, I am detecting the same dimensional signatures near all our major facilities. The humans have surrounded us completely." "That is correct," Chen confirmed. "Every Zephyrian fleet base, every government world, every military academy is currently within range of human weapons. If we choose to activate our systems, your entire civilization could be disabled in less than an hour." Commander Zilk stepped forward. "This is an act of war. The Galactic Council will respond." "Will they?" Chen asked. "Commander, please explain to me how the Galactic Council will respond to an enemy they cannot see, cannot hit, and cannot understand." She gestured toward the tactical display. Your most advanced sensors cannot track our ships when we choose to remain hidden. Your most powerful weapons cannot damage vessels that exist in multiple dimensions. Your fastest ships cannot catch enemies that can appear anywhere instantly. Admiral Vexitar felt the weight of 3,000 years of galactic history settling on his shoulders. The Zephyrian Empire had built its power on technological superiority and overwhelming force, but humanity had developed capabilities that made traditional military power irrelevant. What happens now? He asked. Now, Admiral, you have a choice. You can accept our terms and begin the process of transforming your empire into something better, or you can refuse and discover what happens when humanity stops being gentle. Captain Chen walked to the bridge windows, looking out at the disabled Zephyrian fleet floating in space around them. I want you to understand something, Admiral. Humanity did not develop this technology for conquest. We created it for survival. Our planet was dying, our civilization was collapsing, and we had to become something new or face extinction. She turned back to face the alien commander. We learned that true strength does not come from having the biggest fleet or the most territory. It comes from adapting to circumstances that would destroy others. It comes from finding solutions that your enemies cannot imagine. And if we agree to your terms, then humanity will help you rebuild your civilization into something sustainable. We will share certain technologies that can help restore damaged worlds. We will provide assistance in relocating displaced populations. We will work together to create a galactic community based on cooperation rather than conquest. Admiral Vexitar considered his options. He could refuse and watch his empire face an enemy that could strike anywhere without warning. He could fight and see his people destroyed by weapons they could not defend against. Or he could accept that the age of Zephyrian dominance was ending. I will need to contact the Galactic Council, he said finally. Of course, but Admiral, understand that this offer has a time limit. Humanity has been patient while developing our capabilities. We will not remain patient forever. Chen activated her communicator again. All human vessels, this is Captain Chen. Begin restoration of basic life support and communication systems on all Zephyrian ships. Allow their crews to contact their command structure. Throughout the disabled fleet, alien ships began powering up emergency systems. Life support stabilized, communication arrays activated, and basic navigation came online. The humans were demonstrating that they could restore Zephyrian systems as easily as they had disabled them. Admiral, Chen continued, you have 24 hours to provide an answer. During that time, your ships will remain functional, but your weapons and engines will stay offline. Use this time to consider the future of your civilization. She began walking toward the edge of the bridge, where the bulkhead should have stopped her progress. Instead, she passed through the solid wall as if it were made of air. Captain, Admiral Vexitar called after her, why are you doing this? Why not simply destroy us and take our territory? Chen paused, half visible as she stood partially inside the wall. Because, Admiral, humanity learned something important during our darkest years. Destruction is easy. Anyone with enough weapons can destroy their enemies. But building something better, creating a civilization that can survive and grow, that requires wisdom. She disappeared through the wall, leaving the Zephyrian crew alone on their bridge. Admiral Vexitar stood in silence for several minutes, processing everything that had happened. His empire, which had seemed invincible just hours before, now faced an enemy that operated beyond the rules of conventional warfare. Sir, Science Officer Thrawn said quietly. What do we do? The Admiral looked at the tactical display showing hundreds of human ships positioned throughout Zephyrian space. He thought about 3,000 years of galactic conquest and the billions of beings who had suffered under Imperial rule. We contact the Galactic Council, he said finally, and we tell them that everything has changed. Outside the bridge windows, the human ships began to fade from normal space, returning to whatever dimensional realm they called home. But their message remained clear. The galaxy now had a new power, one that would reshape everything the old civilizations thought they knew about war, peace, and survival. The age of empire was ending. The age of humanity had begun. In the depths of space, the Retribution completed its mission and began the long journey home to Earth. Captain Chen stood on her bridge, looking at the stars and thinking about the future her species had just secured. Humanity had come to the galaxy not as conquerors, but as teachers. Whether the old civilizations would learn from the lesson remained to be seen.